Peace everyone, Unmask here, and welcome back to the Drawing Journal. Alright, so as you can see, I have this drawing pretty much done. This was a two-part tutorial series that I did over on Patreon, and so I'm just finishing up some details. I did the live stream drawing of both of these the past couple weeks. Last week you saw me working on the kitten a little bit. This past Friday is when I drew the bird and went over techniques for like creating creating feather texture and kind of contrasting the different techniques that I use between fur and feathers. So yeah, I'm just going to add some more color to it and add some more value to this drawing before I call it done. I don't yet quite have what I'm going to do for the next tutorial over on Patreon just yet, but I do have a really good idea of what I might do, and I kind of want to put together like a few ideas as what specific techniques I recommend like getting good at with colored pencils, whether it's just layering or blending or a combination of such things, just to kind of introduce colored pencils a bit more to people that are maybe new to them or haven't yet tried them. Just to give an example, like I think one of the skills that is really important with colored pencils is learning how to create a really smooth gradient from one color to another through various blending techniques, whether it's just doing multiple layers or some other variation of that. And I was thinking about doing kind of a tutorial of a few different techniques that I think you should master with colored pencils, just because it makes your life easier. Oh, hello, Anne. I'm glad you came over to the live stream. I'm glad you like the birdie and the kitten. I'm kind of tired today, so don't expect a whole lot of energy from me during this live stream, though I honestly don't really have a lot to talk about. My Kickstarter is most likely going to be funded. I'm at 700 right now, and I only need 300 left, and I have last night I sold one of the originals. I think it was Project 2, if I'm not mistaken. And so I have 3 originals left, and I'm expecting it to be fully funded, so that's good news. And as far as the time frame, so I kind of made a slight mistake when I set up my Kickstarter, because I put the delivery date for June, which what I intended to imply was that I was going to have the delivery date at the end of June. So with my actual course, the digital version and everything like that, that's going to be emailed to everybody, because it's going to be digital format. I may have not emphasized that enough, but it's just going to be a video. It's just going to be a series, a whole bunch of videos, like 17 of them, that you download, and then you have the files on your computer and you can watch them, and like any other video. And I'm not sure if I made that entirely clear. Hopefully that doesn't discourage anybody, but essentially it's just going to be like watching a YouTube video, except you own the video, and it's on your computer, and you can put it in your iTunes or on your tablet or whatever you want to do with it. it will be an MP4 format, so it will be playable on any device imaginable. And yeah, so I intended to convey that the course was going to be delivered via email, or either email or Dropbox, one of those two. Either way, it's going to come to your email, and it's going to happen at the end of June, not now in the beginning of June. I should have put July, and I can't change it now, unfortunately, but I should have put July so that it didn't confuse people to think that as soon as the Kickstarter was fully funded, that the course would just be sent out immediately, because I wish that I was in that position, but I still have a lot of editing for the course to be fully done. And so, yeah, I just wanted to give that brief update to what's going on with the course. There's absolutely no chance whatsoever that I wouldn't deliver on the course. I didn't make all those videos and do all the editing that I've done so far to not put the course out there. But it will most likely not be available on my website for, I don't know, a few weeks past it being complete. So once I have it edited and I have the file all prepared to send out to all the Kickstarter supporters, then they will obviously get the course well before anybody that wanted to buy it off my website, because I won't have it available on my website for probably a couple weeks past that point, just to prepare just to set up the website, shopping page, and all that fun stuff that you got to do when you open up a store online. And then just to make sure that when people buy it, it processes fine and all that stuff, I guess. But yeah, so today I'm just playing around with this, adding some final details to it, and then I'm going to call this drawing done. It's nothing real special to me or anything like that, so I don't know, maybe I'll give it away or something for the 10,000 subscriber thing that I haven't yet come up with a exact solution as to how I'm going to run the giveaway for the 10,000 subscriber thing, but I promise it's coming. I'm so far behind, to be completely honest with you. I am so far behind on everything right now. Like, I am shooting way more video than I have time to edit, and it is just, oh gosh, it's almost getting to the point where I'm too overwhelmed to do anything. But I need to finish. My main priority at this point is obviously to finish editing my pastel course, and it takes so much more priority for that, especially given the Kickstarter, that I don't really have the extra time to do the editing for all of my other videos. I have at least 5, I think I have at least 5, maybe even 6 videos that all I really need to do is record a narration, edit them, and then upload them to YouTube. And I still have 2 time lapses of my course. I have Project 4 and Project 5 time lapses that I haven't done yet, and I really intended to have those complete by tomorrow. Actually, I was gonna probably record the last one tomorrow and upload it or whatever, but I'm not even prepared for it at all. And yeah, I have just so much stuff to edit. It's just ridiculous. Real quick, hello, Anastasia, Coffee Cat, Israel, Raf. Thanks for coming by the live stream. I always appreciate you guys coming over and hanging out for a little bit. I'm doing this live stream actually a little bit later today because I wanted to go out and enjoy the weather a little bit. The weather's just been so fantastic that it pains me to be inside editing all day. So this past weekend I bought a basketball, and Anna and we went over to the school and played some basketball a little bit. I did so much walking this weekend and the past week. I've probably walked it feels like 5 kilometers every day for like the past week. Besides that, I hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a really, really fun weekend, actually. Saturday, like I said, I bought a basketball, and Anna and we went over to the school and played some basketball, and it was fun. Just fantastic weather, like I said. And then Sunday was super fun for me. So I think I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it in the last live stream last week. I'm not 100% certain, but I've really, really have gotten into Magic the Gathering again, and I was never really like into it. I just played a little bit when I was in high school. A couple friends had cards, and the game always intrigued me. So I asked them like, what is it? And they taught me how to play, and it was super fun. It was so much fun to play. And so I decided to kind of get back into playing Magic, or get into Magic for the first time, really, because I never owned my own cards, really. And so I've kind of been doing that a lot. And yesterday I played in a Magic tournament at one of the card stores in Katowice, and it was super fun. I played for like 6 hours or something ridiculous like that, and it was so much fun. Like I met a few guys that have been playing for a long time, and they were super nice, and it was great because the Magic cards, they don't come in Polish, so they have to understand the game in English. So their English is pretty good, and it gave me an opportunity to just hang out and chat for a little bit. So it's still cold in Finland. That's crazy. It's been consistently, almost with the exception of yesterday. So yesterday, even though the weather wasn't fantastic, it was still super fun playing Magic. But pretty consistently, like from 9 a.m., it's 21, 22 degrees. And then it usually gets up. I'm actually curious of what the temperature is right now, but I'm not going to get up and check the thermometer. But it's probably like 32, 33 degrees right now. Super lovely blue skies with fun puffy clouds. Yeah, I used to do vlogs a little bit more often. In fact, my drawing journals, some of my early drawing journals, they were a little bit more vloggy. And I had different, sometimes I I would not be drawing at all, but I'd still call it a drawing journal. And that would be fun, but that's just one more kind of video that I'd have to edit. And right now I'm barely hanging on to the amount of videos that I need to edit and I need to get to. So don't expect vlogs anytime soon, but it would be something fun to do. I enjoy it, and I like to share my experiences with people. And I do enjoy editing vlogs. I think that they're fun. But to be honest with you, my life is not that exciting. I would have to really, really edit my vlogs in order to make my life look exciting. So I don't know if that's going to be coming anytime soon. What is the brush used for? Okay, so that's a good question. So if you're unfamiliar with, I'm using colored pencils, and what I use the brush for is I use it to blend out the colored pencils. So I dip my brush in paint thinner or odorless mineral spirits, zest it, whatever you. Some people even said you could use baby oil. I never tried that, and I probably never will. But I use this Polish brand here. This is my Polish brand that I use, and it's just odorless paint thinner that you would usually use to clean out your oil paint brushes, but you put a little bit of that on the brush, and what it does is it works as a solvent to break down the binder that is in the pencil lead, and it separates the binder from the pigment, and it lets you spread the pigment on across your paper and smooth it out. So that's what I use the brush for. It's a good question. I'm glad you asked. Because when I first started with colored pencils, I had no idea you could do such a thing. And when I learned that, in fact, I learned it from Lisa Lockery. If you are unsure of who I'm referring to, most of you probably do though. I learned that you could blend colored pencils with paint thinner from her, and when I saw that, it was just like life-changing, because I'd never used colored pencils before I came across her channel, and when I saw what she was doing with colored pencils, I was like, I need to do that with colored pencils too. And so I bought my first pack of Prismacolor Premier 72 pack. I still got them in my drawer over there, and I just went for it. I just started using colored pencils, and actually on my channel you can see my progression of colored pencils, because the very first drawing I ever did with colored pencils is on my channel. It's like 3 years old now. Goodness. It's crazy. I think it's 3 years old. Maybe it's just 2. I don't know. I'm terrible with keeping track of time. I think at the end of this year I'll be on YouTube for 4 years or something. I think. Honestly, I'd prefer it to be only 3 years, because it's taken a long time for me to get to where I'm at for me doing it for 4 years. But yes, so regardless, that's my tangent from your question about what I use the brush for. There's really not a lot left for me to do with this drawing, and I'm probably not going to be streaming all that long today, because I should probably do some editing, though I probably won't, to be completely honest with you. Yes, I agree. And if it wasn't for Lisa's channel, I probably would have never picked up colored pencils. I would probably be using markers. I would have probably invested more money early on into my marker collection, and then I would probably maybe maybe get into colored pencils later. But if I hadn't come across her channel, I don't know. Because one of the things that I always associated with colored pencils was that kind of gross, grainy texture from the pencil, and I despise texture. I think I almost say that every week that I cannot stand texture. And colored pencil texture is one of my least favorite things in the whole wide world. So when I do colored pencil work, I'm trying to make my work always as smooth as possible, to the point that it looks more like a painting rather than colored pencil, because I just cannot stand the colored pencil texture on paper. That And if you're familiar with colored pencils, you know exactly what I'm talking about when you're like that grainy look where you see the paper coming through. And a lot of the cheaper brands, especially um, like Crayola brand or something cheap that you would buy for school or something, um, they don't really even burnish that well. So it wasn't until I kind of got into the Prismacolor wax-based pencil that I discovered burnishing and that really nice, smooth, consistent color and vibrancy from the pencil. So that's why I never associated artwork with colored pencils, because I was only ever familiar with the cheap brand of colored pencil. So, of course, when I came across Lisa's channel, I felt like she was using a magical, super expensive brand of colored pencil, which, let's face it, colored pencils, like the artist quality, they're pretty expensive. So I would have never dreamed of buying those starting off. I never in my life would I even thought that I would get to a point where I owned pencils other than my Prismacolors, because I never thought colored pencil work would look as good as it does, and two, I never thought I would be one of those artists that gets colored pencil work to look the way that it does. Um, but after like a year of constant practice and learning with colored pencils, I did finally get to a point where I thought my colored pencil was good enough to deserve better pencils. So that's when I upgraded to my Luminance pencils, and I've used my Luminance pencils for a little over a year now. It was like springtime last year that I finally broke down and bought some Luminance, and I have absolutely loved my Luminance pencils up to this point. And I worked with them for another whole year until I finally got the full set of polychromos. So it it I've come a long way, and I've done a lot of colored pencil work. Um, and I've just slowly increased, my inventory, and um, now at this point, I'm at this point, when I got my Luminance, I was like, how could I ever need any other colored pencils, because they worked so great. And now that I finally got polychromos, I see how much of a benefit it is to add the missing colors from Luminance that you miss and adding them with the polychromos, because one of the things that I've found when combining my Luminance and my polychromos is that I like to burnish. I like to burnish my paper with the Luminance. I love the waxy, like paint look that I get with that. You're not gonna get it with the polychromos, not the way you do with the Luminance. There's no argument there. The polychromos, they look great, but you're not gonna get that burnished look that I like. Like, I really, really liked the burnished look with the Luminance. And but what I've noticed, and a really good quality about the polychromos, is that after I burnish with my Luminance, I can use the translucent properties of the polychromos to almost glaze over top. And it works amazingly. You do still get a little bit of streaks and a bit of grain when you burnish, and then you kind of use the polychromos to what's the word, like glaze some color or some tones over top. But for the most part, you get just a really nice finish, kind of glazed look, and it looks really nice. And I like that aspect of combining the two types of pencils, because it just, not only do you get a much more expanded library of colors, because I've complained about the limited color selection from Luminance in multiple videos, and the problem is that there's no browns. There's no browns with the Luminance, which is kind of frustrating. I'm not sure what else is missing. Can't really. I think that's pretty much it, like the browns. But one of the things that you do get with the Luminance is desaturated colors. So like the 836, the 846, the 832, the 872, and the 862. Those are some of my favorite colors because they're muted. It's almost like they took one, like a pigment of like a brown, and mixed it with the pigment of white and created a really nice desaturated brownish tone, or with pink or with purple. And it's those colors, just, I use so much of those colors in work because they're just perfect. On the other hand, though, the polychromos, they don't have any colors like that. All of their colors are like fully saturated, and it's a bit frustrating. I'm glad that I have both, and I'm personally glad that I chose to go with Luminance first, because even though I'm missing colors with the Luminance, I like that I can mix the colors of Luminance and get pretty much all the colors I get with the polychromos, but there's no colors I can mix to get the desaturated colors fully burnished that I get with the Luminance. So yeah, I don't know why I talk about these color pencils way too often, but I don't really have much to talk about today that I haven't already mentioned. So yeah, yeah, it is really nice to work with quality products. It does make a huge difference. However, I would say the jump in quality from Prismacolors to Luminance was not nearly as significant as the jump from the sketch paper I was coloring on to real paper, like this Strathmore vellum paper. I would say that paper probably makes a much more of a significance to your enjoyment with colored pencils. Have I ever tried drafting film? No, I've never have. It sounds like it might be smooth, though. Oh, that's very cool. You should take a camera with you and share some footage of the exhibition. Yeah, hopefully you'll get some good weather soon too, Anne. You have a nice day. Oh yes, so sorry I missed your comment about colored pencils and getting smoothness. Yeah, um, there's a few things you can do to get your colored pencils smooth. Now, I know that there is, um, I know that there is, what, there's kind of like this, okay, I gotta start over. So you might have like a reddish color, but maybe it's like a pink, more of a pink color or something, but you don't have your pink is too bright. So if you were to burnish with that pink, it would be too bright for the pink that you want. And so what you would do is you would mix the pink with white, or mix the reddish pink that you have with white, and you would do a light layer of that, a light layer of white, and you'd kind of go back and forth. And the burnishing would most likely occur when you're applying the white. And so for smoothness, one of the biggest problems that people have is that they think that they have enough layers on their paper, but the truth is they don't. Depending on the paper that you're using, it requires more layers in order to get that smooth texture, which is why I like to use smoother paper, like the vellum or the Bristol Smooth. So if you're not getting the smoothness that you want, you can try a smoother paper, or you can just apply more layers. And that should help correct any smoothness issues. Other than that, there's not too much else. And then of course, blending out with paint thinner, you're going to get a different kind of smoothness. Now, even if you're blending with paint thinner, you need to have enough pigment on the paper, because if you don't, you'll just, it will only blend so far. And if you are working on a rougher paper, say watercolor paper for instance, then the paint thinner is not going to blend the pencils out as much. You're still going to need more colored pencil on the paper itself in order to get that pigment to blend out even with the paint thinner. So just keep that in mind. It's depending on the paper that you're using, it's going to require either more layers or like more layers. So that's the best advice I can give you in regards to creating that smooth texture that you want in your colored pencil work. So I feel like this question comes up a lot, and when I work with colored pencils, a lot of people that have just started, or they're not quite sure how to create specific effects with their colored pencils, because there's a lot of little tricks, but for the most part, I think one of the most common is the smooth texture. And oftentimes I just find that it's the same mistake, it's just not having enough layers of colored pencil on the paper itself to make it smooth. It could also be the brand of colored pencils. For instance, if you're working with the very thin Prismacolors, you're not going to get the smooth texture that you would get with the Prismacolor Premier, because the very thins are not wax based. The Premier are the wax based, and so the wax based pencils are the ones that you're going to want to start with if you want that kind of waxy, smooth texture that I was mentioning earlier. And I prefer that texture. That's my favorite. Oh, hello, Maima. Thanks for coming by the live stream. Have I ever tried the brush and pencil? Yes, I have. So I have a copy of Aliona's new book. She sent it to me to review. I have the script. I have everything that I really need to review the book. I just need to record the video and edit it and upload it. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the live stream, I am so far behind with all of my editing and all of my videos that actually I can't even create anything new right now. So I have two projects two big projects that I really would love to get started on, but I have zero time to get started on either of them because I'm so far behind on editing. So I'm every Friday over on Patreon, I do a live stream tutorial, which is where this came from. And oh, okay, Coffee Cat. I was glad you were here, and you have a good night. Yes. So eventually, I will have the review of the brush and pencil stuff, plus the review of Aliona's new book. But when I'm actually going to get to that is a whole nother question in itself, because I have no idea. But I do love the stuff. Now, one of the things, the powder blender, now I've worked with the powder blender on a couple pieces. However, I only had my Luminance pencils at the time. I haven't tried it, and time and time again, I know that the wax-based pencils don't work as well. They don't work as well with the powder blender, and that is very evident based on my experience working with the powder blender and the Luminance wax-based pencils. And everybody that I've talked to have said that the polychromos are the pencils to use with the powder blender. And since getting my polychromos pencils, I have yet to even test the powder blender with my polychromos. And it's frustrating. It's beyond frustrating. So I'm really, really hoping that I can get, that by the end of this week, I can somewhat get caught up with my videos and my editing, and then hopefully put out some new material that hasn't been recorded for 3 weeks, and do a review of, it's going to be a review of her new book, but it's also going to include her products as well, because the brush and pencil products and her new book, they go hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. It almost doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's about it with the brush and pencil stuff. But I really, really do like, now over here in Europe, it took a little bit of extra time for me to get access to the touch-up texture and titanium white, and I love that stuff. That stuff is awesome. But before that, I was able to get some of the textured fixative, which I absolutely love. I did a review of the textured fixative specifically, and I also did a tutorial that includes just how amazing the texture fixative and how good it works. This was back in January, I want to say, that I did those 2 videos. So you'd have to go back pretty far through my catalog of videos to find those, or you could possibly just search on my channel and type in brush and pencil, and it would most likely be in a list of one of those videos, just to narrow it down a little bit. Anyways, I think I'm going to call this drawing done. I don't really have anything else that I care to add to it. I'm satisfied with the way that it looks. This was just for a tutorial over on Patreon anyway, so I'm not being real stickler about the details, and I could totally make this look 1,000 times better if I spent maybe another 4 or 5 hours on it. But honestly, to be completely honest with you, it doesn't mean enough to me to put that kind of time into it, because it was just for a Patreon tutorial. But yeah, that's going to be it for today, unless anybody has any other questions. Like I said, today was going to be kind of short, because the weather is just, it's just taunting me every day. Every day I'm sitting here working, I have to look out that window and just see how wonderful it looks outside, and it just pains me too much to sit here for too long. So getting back to the brush and pencil stuff. So the paper that I used was the UArt paper, the sanded paper, and I really, really did not like it because all of the sandpaper texture showed through the drawing, and as I mentioned like 10 minutes ago, I cannot stand texture. And part of me, so I have one other paper that I'm going to try with the powder blender. To be honest with you, I'm not certain at this point that I'm going to like the powder blender because of how much of a textured paper I have to use in order to use it, and the texture showing through. If the texture continues to show through, it's going to be really hard to sell me on it, because I like the smoothness. I can't get enough of the smoothness. But the textured fixative and the touch-up texture and titanium white, those are the best. I have no doubt about that. I love using that stuff. But Anyways, I'm going to jump off here. Thank you everybody that came by the live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a bit short today. I don't even think I've been live streaming for an hour. But like I said, the window's right there and the birds are flying and then chirping and they're just taunting me. So I will release the time lapses, the rest of the time lapses for my pastel course tomorrow and Wednesday. There is only a day left. There's like 23 hours left for anybody that's interested in backing my Kickstarter. It's the last chance to get the pastel course for just $10. Otherwise, it's going to be on my website in probably another month, in which case it will be sold for $25. So this is the last chance to get it for $10, plus basically a free print if you back for more. You can also buy some of the originals for, actually I decreased the price. So the originals used to be $200. I dropped it for the last 2 days of Kickstarter down to $100. So you could own the original pastel piece plus the course for just $100. So yeah, pretty ridiculously cheap for my work, to be honest with you. So yeah, so real quick, the paper I'm using, this is the Stonehenge vellum paper. I use this paper all the time. And the other paper that I like is the Strathmore Bristol Smooth, but this is the Stonehenge vellum. So yeah, I usually have my supplies listed in the description, but I don't think I do for this video. Anyways, I will see you all next week, and thank you for coming by. Take care. Peace.